Good day. This is David Shea, Shea Holistics, and as always, I am so glad you're here. During meditation this morning, it came to me what we should talk about. And as we write about in many of our posts and in the other videos and even in our monthly meditations, one of the things that Deborah and I have really come to know is that our connection with our higher guidance in the divine, which is our shorthand for any aspect of God, really is the connection through which all things unfold in our life. We get our communications, our higher guidance, spiritual gifts, you name it, it all comes from those connections. And it was a few years ago that I had something happen to me that I think is really good to share. At the time, I was working for a construction company that's also a golf course. They put high-end custom cabins and homes in the residential portion of the golf course. And of course, my job as construction administrator, one of my primary functions was to go and work with the customers to configure from A to Z every aspect of the cabin. The kitchen, the bathrooms, the artwork, the rugs, the windows, the finish work, the color of the paint, the kind of finish that they had on the outside. You name it, that was my job to do it. I also was responsible for keeping track of ordering all of the construction materials, or a good percentage of the construction materials, and as well as all the items for each cabin and keeping track of them, not only what goes into which cabin, but how much it cost, how much we spent, so on and so forth. In other words, there was a lot of details, dozens and dozens of details to keep track of for each cabin. And we were doing 12 to 15 cabins at once, at least for that year, and 3 to 5 at any given time. So obviously there was a lot of things required, and it required a very good memory and physical resilience and just being able to keep track of things. Well, with that said, I had been obviously doing spiritual work for much of my life, and up to that point, I was fairly right-brained. I was obviously doing meditations, and we were doing seminars and classes, and it's a very right-brain activity. And this, keeping track of things in a cabins for construction, is a left-brain activity. And I did fine. I was certainly able to do it, but it was a challenge. So one day, it was a Sunday afternoon as I recall, and I was walking out of the spare bedroom into the living room. And as often happens, a couple of my guides showed up briefly. And the two guides, and they were coming, I spotted them walking behind our long couch in the living room. And they showed up as like fog. That's how they appeared to my eyes. And initially I didn't recognize them. But within a couple seconds I recognized that they were my two guides, Master Obadiah, that's what I call him, Obadiah, which is the same one from the Bible, and Moses, which is also the same one from the Bible. Now, it's common for people to have guides from people from their spiritual backgrounds. If you're a Hindu, you might have Shiva or Brahman, and if you're a Buddhist, you might have Buddha, and so on and so forth. So it's very common for people to have this. But no sooner that I had spotted them and they were walking side by side, then they disappeared. They didn't say anything, and I hadn't sensed anything at the time, so I just kind of said, well, they'll tell me later. So fast forward to that night. Now, normally I got up very early in the morning to go to work so that I could get a lot of work done before construction personnel and customers would show up, get everything organized. But I could not sleep that entire night. It was like I had taken energetic caffeine, and no matter what I tried meditating, I tried counting sheep even, I actually tried that, and a number of other techniques, but nothing would work. And I was thinking, this is going to be a long day. So I get to work, and to my surprise, I am absolutely energized and wide awake. More importantly, and this was significant, my cognitive abilities and memory were stepped up. I went from here to here. It reminds me of that TV series, Limitless, from a few years ago. Like I had been given a little mini NZT pill. Suddenly, my memory was good before, but it was excellent afterwards. Extremely detailed, resilient. In other words, I didn't fatigue through the day very much. And it was a real huge step up from where I was before. And I recognized that there was some sort of an energetic transfer that I hadn't recognized at that moment when Moses and Obadiah showed up, but it was there. And I bring this up, and I mentioned this earlier in the writing in the post that's associated with this video, that whenever our guides show up, any spiritual being of any type, they're not there just to hang out. They have come to help us in some capacity. They may have a communication for us. Perhaps they have a spiritual energy transfer like what happened to me. Sometimes it comes in the form of some other gift that happens in some unique way for each of us. But whatever it is, they are there for our benefit, and they've been sent. And it's also really important for us to remember that all of our guides, all of them have been assigned to us ultimately from the divine or God. That's who assigns our guides. It all comes down from that, originates. So that's an important thing to know, that whoever we have as guides is the right guide for us. And they're there to help us. They are a resource. So after that happened, it really was a reminder to me that all of the doing or the unfoldment in our lives, whether it's work, our spiritual activities that we think of separately from other activities, all come from that connection from our higher guidance, which is the angels, our guides, the light beings, the countless other beings that we don't even have names for, and the divine, which is, again, any aspect of God, whatever you relate to. And for each person and each religion, it's different. But whatever it is, it all comes from that. And that connection manifests the unfoldment in our lives. I once saw a bumper sticker. I think it said, "Do be, do be, do be," which it was a spiritual bumper sticker, and it makes perfect sense to me. In other words, allow our doing to come from our being. And that's basically in the post. And it's also a reminder to us that everything we seek, we will be guided from our connection. And we may be guided to someone outside of us to become the source of that information, but we should always allow ourselves to be guided from our own connection, and not be persuaded to do things just because it's popular or someone else says we should, even when we don't feel guided to do so. So with that, I just thought I'd share that event. It was certainly tremendous, and it served me to this day. I mean, that NZT effect is still with me, and it serves me well. Just as all the gifts that happen to us and come from our higher guidance to us, they serve us our entire life and into the hereafter and next lives for those who have them. Have a wonderful day. Blessings, light, and love. And until next time, I will see you then.